Headlines broke around the world 2 weeks ago with the news Peru is extraditing Jeroen van der Sloot to the United States. He is the key suspect in the 2005 disappearance of American teenager Natalee Holloway in Aruba. His extradition, however, is to answer to an indictment for the alleged 2010 extortion of Natalee Holloway's mother. Van der Sloot is expected to be transported from Peru to Alabama in the very near future, which could be this week or next week. For security reasons, the FBI, of course, is not revealing the exact date. Earlier today, Van der Sloot's attorney, Maximo Altez, told CNN his client wants to be transferred to the U.S. That's not something he's told me over the years, I can tell you that. Altez has also verified reports that his client was injured in his Peruvian prison, but by a much lesser extent, saying, quote, it wasn't a direct assault against him, it was a fight among some inmates. Jeroen got involved when he tried to defend his friend. As a consequence, Jeroen suffered a cut to his finger and some bruising. Now, that's a far cry from previous reports that he was severely beaten. Also, according to Altez, Van der Sloot is being held in the prison's medical area. Now, we'll get more information about him in the next few days. Former FBI assistant, former director, and FBI lead investigator on Natalee Holloway's case, Tom Fuentes, joins me. Nice to see you, sir.
Good to see you, Greta.
All right, so it's 18 years later, and he's finally coming to the United States to answer to the extortion and wire fraud indictments down in Alabama. Let me go back to 2005, though. Tell me, when in 2005, was law enforcement in Aruba cooperative with the FBI?
Not too much.
What do you mean by not too much?
Well, they pretended to be, but they really weren't. You know, one of the issues is if a felony is committed against a U.S. citizen anywhere in the world, Congress has given the FBI primary jurisdiction. However, it requires the cooperation of the host country to let the FBI come in, provide assistance, or in some cases they'll give the case to the FBI to go ahead and take over, basically do it. In this particular case, when we were notified, our legal attaché was notified that she had gone missing and didn't make the flight that she was supposed to make the next morning back to the U.S., then we contact the Arubans through our legal attaché office and offer any and all assistance. Say, no, we know this is, your jurisdiction, because it's separate, it's part of the Netherlands, Aruba. So we don't have the ability to just waltz in there and say, here we are, we want to take over, even though a number of U.S. politicians wanted exactly that. I'd get calls. I was assistant director of in charge of the Office of International Operations. So I was running all FBI offices around the world outside the United States. So in this case, when a U.S. citizen in another country has rape, robbery, murder happen to them, then we contact that country and say, we're going to provide any and all assistance, and we'll come down immediately if you want that assistance from us. If they say yes, and if we develop the case, that country can agree to let us bring the person back and prosecute in the United States. But in this case, the Netherlands wouldn't do that, and Aruba wouldn't do that. So Aruba tells us, well, we go back to the mothership if we need help, and that's the Netherlands, not you. And so we're trying to give them advice. Well, are you doing this? Are you doing neighborhood exams? They should have been showing her picture. And they knew already that Jeroen van der Sloot and her had left the drinking establishment together earlier. So there's a number of leads that in a case like that, we would do them all simultaneously.
Wait, let me tell you what I heard. I've heard from FBI agents who were on the ground back in 2005 is that they were so uncooperative that they wouldn't speak English with the FBI, instead required the FBI to get interpreters, either speak Papiamento, which is the local dialect, or to get Dutch. That's how uncooperative. Plus, when I was down there, down there the whole summer of 2005, is that the police there would spend their days following us from 6 o'clock in the morning until the evening, following us as though we were the criminals rather than out investigating. But I know why they weren't out investigating, but that's a whole nother story.
Right, so they pretended to be cooperative because, the country has to give permission for the FBI to even come into the country. They have to grant country clearance to come in on official business. They're not down there on tourist passports. They're coming in as official FBI agents, and they're basically saying, okay, you can come to our country, and then they were treated like that. They weren't allowed to really do anything beyond that. And normally, agents in that situation would not go off and investigate leads on their own. They would take a partner from the host country agency with them, or vice versa, but that's normally how it would work. So they were not cooperative. When we're trying to tell them that you should be covering every possible lead that you could come up with immediately, simultaneously, well, we're going to try this, and then when that didn't work, well, we're going to try that, and if that didn't work, they did something. For example, they knew from security and witnesses that Joran and Natalee and 2 others got in his car and drove off at a little after 1 o'clock, I think, when the bar closed. And so they knew what car it was and where that car was at. And we're saying we can send a forensic team down right now to do the crime scene on that car. Look for DNA evidence, other forensic material. No, we don't need that.
I could tell you, I know who cleaned that car.
Wow.
I know them. I know exactly. I've got
Yeah.
written documents as who cleaned it. I also have written documents where they're talking to each other and said, don't use our phones, the police, because the FBI have our phone tapped.
Well,
There's a lot that's going to come out on this story once Iran gets to the United States. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But anyway, former FBI Assistant Director Tom Fuentes, thank you, sir.